So all of those emotions that come up month after month, right? They all come back to those basic safety and belonging.
Mhm.
And they just show up in different ways and make these patterns that we bring through to our adult life. And then when you get to this stage, it's a reckoning of all of that that you can't turn away from.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Pelvic Pulse podcast. I have an exciting guest with us today, Miss Johanna Swanson. Okay, so I don't even remember the first time we actually officially met. It might have been at our Spark meeting, but
Maybe
I
that
think,
was the first official time,
yeah, but
for
we
sure.
crossed paths because this is how I think of you. If you're new to this podcast, by the way, and you didn't know this, this is one of my little side things that I like to do and have been asked to do. And it's always with young women, young girls. They're, anywhere from as young as 8 to 12 years old. And I go and I share about an empowered puberty experience, and the moms are there. And so it's like a mother-daughter experience where we're having this open conversation about periods and boobs and cycle syncing and just inhabiting our bodies in a different way that feels more empowered than what I grew up with. And I always walk away from those knowing the moms are saying this out loud to me. They're like, okay, this experience I'm having is more like this and it feels like this and it always hasn't been like that and da 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 da. It's like obviously they're going through some stage and level of perimenopause. And I'm like, Joanna and I need to actually probably do a dual like
Yeah,
experience.
do.
And you can hang out with the moms and then I can hang out with the girls, or we can hang out all
Mhm.
together. But I just feel like our work mirrors each other's very, very beautifully. And I'm just so grateful that I know you and you are a resource to my community and the women in my world and to me too. So thank you for being that. Can you tell everyone maybe a little bit more about what it is that like got you started in this? Maybe it starts with your own personal experience, but
Oh,
yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so my story with how I got here starts, I'll give you the short version because there's so many synchronicities, right? As we all can find along the way. But so it starts, the short story is that when I was 38, after I had my children, the doctors, two of my aunts, one of my aunts had breast cancer and ovarian cancer, the other had breast cancer very young. So they tested for the BRCA gene mutation. So then and they were positive. So then my mother tested and she's positive. And so then I tested and I'm positive. And that means that basically you get the BRCA, there's the BRCA1 and the BRCA2. And these are genes that make it so that your body recognizes cancer and will kill the cancer.
Hmm.
And so you get one gene from your mom and one gene from your dad. And the gene that I got from my mom is broken. And this, so I don't, it's not available to help my body fight off cancer. And
Mm.
so I just have the one from my dad. But as everyone ages, these genes kind of weaken in and so then you have even less of a chance to be able to fight off these types of cancers.
Mm.
The doctors don't explain it that way. They explain it as though you have this large percentage chance of getting cancer. And so we need to take your ovaries and we need to take your breasts. And so, and to me, there's a really big difference in the way you're looking at it. It's like, oh, you have this chance of getting cancer. No, that's not it. It's that like if you get cancer, you have less of an ability to fight it off.
Mm.
You're not more of a chance of getting it,
I
which in
see.
my mind are two very, very different things.
Absolutely.
And so, anyway, so once they knew I had that mutation, they're like, okay, well, as soon as you're done having kids, we're gonna, we want we really advise you to take your ovaries out, remove your ovaries, remove your uterus, and remove your breasts. So I did just that. So I started the process when I was 38. It was a long process with both of the surgeries because I had two infections in my left breast. So what was supposed to just be like, double mastectomy and then like reconstruction, two surgeries, and then the
Hysterectomy.
hysterectomy, oophorectomy, that's the part where they take out your tubes and ovaries. Um, it was seven surgeries because I had got two infections in my left breast. But I was a trooper and I was such a Pollyanna about it all. Like, I didn't really, I'd always just been this really positive person and everything was rainbows and I can do anything. And not that I hadn't had adversity in my life because I have had major adversity, but I was so just emotionally sound and
Mm.
always positive and always like could work through anything. And so I thought like, oh, well, whatever, like no big deal. It'll be fine. No big deal. So after I had my ovaries removed, that it was not fine at all. I went from someone who I never even had PMS. The PMS that I felt was like, I'm hungry, but nothing sounds good. I'm bored, but I don't know which party I should go to. That was PMS. Like that was it. I just had this weird like wishy-washiness. It wasn't anything more than that.
Wow.
And so after I had my ovaries removed, I started getting PMS symptoms. What I thought were, what sounded like what everyone had always told me were PMS symptoms. And it was very interesting because they were cycling with the moon because I used to cycle with the moon, right? And so I
Mhm.
knew that cycle. And then I didn't have my ovaries anymore. I wasn't bleeding anymore. And I was having PMS that was cycling with the moon, even though I wasn't cycling.
Hmm.
That was a fun little hunt I went on to see, like, is this anyway?
Yeah, no, I'm just curious, like within the cluster of symptoms that could be presenting, what were you, do you remember what you had?
What I was feeling.
Yeah.
So I felt intense rage,
Mm,
intense, where I was scared of myself, kind of. And with my kids, so my kids were really, really little. My daughter was 2 and my son was 3.
wow.
And I remember, I mean, it breaks my heart. Like, I remember just like one time them being in the bathtub and like being really rowdy. I'm just like yelling at the top of my lungs.
Mm.
It's really hard, like such shame, after the fact. Or another time, my daughter, I was brushing her hair and it hurt, she's like grabbing her hair, like, stop, mom. And I like took the brush and I'm like, stop, and like hit her hands with the brush, just these horrible things that make you feel so guilty. Yeah, so this rage and just depression, anxiety, but I didn't know. I'd never really had anxiety before.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that that's what it was until it was gone later, which is like a whole other story of that. Um, yeah, so I felt what you hear a lot of women say when they're just going through perimenopause, not even surgical menopause, where they just feel anxious and depressed, rage, just so annoyed with everybody, um, low energy, weight gain. I mean, everything. Look, I never had a hard time sleeping was the one thing that I didn't really experience. And part of that was right after my surgery, they immediately put me on an estrogen patch.
Mm.
And then a few months later, my doctor put me on testosterone, which is great. And so those helped, but also the estrogen that I was on was not bioidentical. And so I noticed a big shift when I switched from Premarin, which is made from horse urine, to estradiol, which is the bioidentical form of estrogen. I noticed a big change and I felt much better. And that's when that rage the ragey part went away, but I still had the anxiety part. But
Mm.
the depression and the rage got better, but the anxiety didn't go away until it was like 4 years later that I finally found someone to give me progesterone.
Oh yeah, talk us through that because I feel like that's something I've been seeing on your reels and stories, and I think
Mhm.
this is just it's frustrating to hear sometimes. And
Mhm.
I think you sharing this just illuminates so much for women. And you are such a proponent of advocacy, which I appreciate. And yet I know there's so many women who are going to be like, oh, like it's so tiring to advocate for myself, but like you must.
You have to in everything that we do.
Yeah.
Everything that we do, we have to be our own advocates. Whether it's, I mean, I learned how to be my own advocate essentially when I was in an abusive relationship when I was in my 20s, right? And like I had to call the police and go to the hospital, like all these, this is like one of those things I've told you, like it's not like my life has been rainbows. Like I've been through adversity and you have to advocate for yourself in any system,
Yep.
in your own household system, right? Like you have to advocate for yourself. Yeah, and that's the thing too is, when I was it's almost been 10 years now. And so there's been so much amazing work done in this space in just the last, it was like, I feel like right when I started my business, it was like, boom, everything blew up. And now there's luckily so much more information and so many more doctors that are actually paying attention and going in and learning about perimenopause and menopause because it's only like 2 hours of the curriculum traditionally.
Right.
And so there's so many more resources now. But the reason I went into this was because when I was going through this, there were no resources. And my doctors, I knew more than my doctors.
Hmm.
So this is the progesterone story. So it's been 4 years and I still feel horrible. um, I'm just not myself. You feel like a shell of yourself. And I was still not not perfectly well. I knew that I was better than I originally had been when I, switched from the Premarin to the estradiol.
Hmm.
But I still knew I wasn't ready to accept, right? I was like, there's more. There's still more here. So I started doing a lot of research about progesterone because I was not on progesterone. And I had asked my doctor, why aren't I progesterone? And he's like, well, you don't have a uterus. You don't need progesterone. And so that way of thinking is, you only need progesterone to protect your uterus from the estrogen because the estrogen is like the growing and then the progesterone comes in and it's like the shedding, right? But progesterone, it's not just in your uterus. You need it for your brain and your bones and your heart and all these other body systems. And so I kept asking, and it was like, no, sorry, no, 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 no. And then finally I found a doctor, well, my dad. So my dad's a physician. He's a
Mm.
family practitioner, but he hadn't been giving hormones to women for so many years because of the Women's Health Initiative study and how like they basically were like, "No, don't give any women hormones." And he's like, well, ask your doctor and ask, they're like, this is their realm. Well, they didn't know either. So I'm like, Dad, look at this study, look at that study, please. So my dad wrote me a prescription,
Wow.
which is kind of like he doesn't live in California. So
Gotcha.
anyway,
Gotcha.
so, and I kid you not, 3 days, 3 days of taking just 100 milligrams of progesterone. And what I didn't realize was anxiety was gone. And it was like, I didn't know it was there until it was gone. It was the weight on my chest and it felt kind of like a buzzing on from like the crown of my head to the top of I'm getting goosebumps, to the top of my shoulders, gone. And I was like, oh gosh, like that must be anxiety. So then of course I'm like, oh yeah, all the things, right? um, yeah, and that just really that changed a lot. And then I started to really feel more like myself.
Mm.
Um,
So are you still on progesterone now?
Okay, yes. So I'm still on progesterone now. So then there came a point where I'm learning more and more about estrogen, and I'm looking at my labs, and I'm like, I think I could take more estrogen.
Mm.
I was getting like going to the dentist, and when they do the pokey things on your gums,
Yeah.
and like all my numbers were like higher, like three, right? They're like one, two, well, two, one, whatever. And they were like threes and fours. And they're like, oh yeah, your gums are you're getting some reseeding in your gums. And I'm like, what's going on? Well, what do you know? That's like low estrogen. And so that was one thing. And I start looking and I'm like, oh, well, let's just play. Like I know everyone, if you learn anything about perimenopause, menopause, anything about your health, we are an N of one. We are our own case study. Everyone is different. You can't just jump on what your friend is doing or whatever, right? So I was like, okay,
Right.
well, let's just try. Like maybe I can feel even better. Um, Especially after seeing how much better I felt after the progesterone, I was like, well, what if I feel even better if I take more estrogen? So I increased my estrogen, and in order to keep my ratio of estrogen to progesterone at a good ratio, I increased my progesterone too.
Mm.
And it's like I feel like Super Mario Brothers, like you're like level up. I was like, oh
You
gosh, it's
took the
like,
mushrooms.
yeah, I took the mushroom. I'm like, whoa, here we go. Level up again. So then so I'm on 2 milligrams of oral estradiol and 200 milligrams of progesterone.
Okay.
And so what I've been talking about and what I'm going to be changing and working with now is do another experiment. At the time that I was taking those doses, I had a very stressful life. I was a elementary school teacher for 20 years. So I was working full time as an elementary school teacher. I was leaving my marriage, which, um, I, yeah, that's whatever.
That's a whole
Um,
other
that's a whole
becoming.
other thing. Um, and I had a business working with artisans in Colombia, making textiles that I was selling. So I was working 6 days a week. So I was working in the classroom full time, Monday through Friday, and then on Saturdays I was going and working at Rising Co, selling my Marilana stuff, and so Sunday was my only day off, or I was working to the bone. Um, I was super stressed, but also, I had always been a high achiever. I had always been someone that was always going. I was always learning something new and trying some, and playing my golf and snowboarding and surfing and traveling and friends and like, the connector and throwing parties and like I was just so high energy all the time. And I just couldn't, that wasn't me anymore.
Mhm.
And so, anyway, so now most recently I've realized that so I left my marriage, I left my teaching career, I was simultaneously starting this business while I decided to leave. Um, and I
Mm.
really kind of put a pause on my life.
Hmm.
So especially so once I left my teaching job and I mean, it wasn't a complete pause, but for me, it was such a big pause to, just be taking courses, getting all of my certificates, starting this business without, I took all of my retirement money, my state retirement from 20 years of teaching. I took it all out and I cashed it out so that I could just focus on myself, focus on everything that I had learned that I knew was going to benefit my health at like the cellular level and give me the cushion to start this job.
Mm.
Um, and so since then, I've just been, yeah, building the business, rebuilding my health, and I've I have like such a completely different nervous system than I had before.
Yeah.
And so I've realized recently that I'm kind of a little too mellow.
You kind of swung the other way, it
I
sounds
really
like.
did. I swung the other way. It's like every day I'm like, okay, like I wake up, I get my kids ready for school. I sit and I eat my breakfast and I drink my coffee outside and then I go surf and then it's like, oh, okay, 10, 11, it's time to start work, you know?
Yeah.
And then it's 3 o'clock. I'm like, oh, kids are off to school. It's just different. I lay out in the yard naked every day. Like I say no to so many things. If I have to rush, I'm not going to do it.
Mhm.
So, but at the same time, I kind of feel like maybe I'm a little too mellow.
Like,
And
yeah, what comes up for you around that? Like,
about
what
so
about,
I just don't I feel a little like I don't feel as motivated.
hmm,
But it doesn't feel like I'm depressed.
hmm.
I'm not sad. I love everything, I have such a peaceful, joyful life.
And it's like,
I'm
isn't
not,
that the point?
yeah, it is the point. Yeah. So I'm not depressed, but I feel like I'm a little too like, I can do that
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but like when
later.
you get a diagnosis, like having the BRCA gene, and you do these um, preemptive surgeries, right, to protect yourself so that you can have a longer life for yourself, for your children,
Hmm.
for all these loving relationships that you have around you. Obviously, like you live in a beautiful place on the planet. Like
Yeah,
you can't really beat San Diego.
right.
But yeah, it's like at some point too, I don't know. I feel like we could take this in so many different directions, but like there's a like I feel a hunger in you maybe
Mhm.
that isn't being satisfied or met or something like that. And but we maybe we don't know what the hunger yet is. Or do you?
Oh, I know. I
Oh,
know.
oh, you know?
I mean, I have a lot of little projects and things I'm working on.
Okay, okay. Maybe we keep those on
Um,
the down low for now.
yeah, yeah. I have a lot. That's the thing. It's like I have these things that light me up that I'm just kind of like, and it's a balance, right? Because there's also a part of me that's like, Joanna, you don't need to hurry. You need to hurry to finish this thing, and you don't need to hurry to finish that thing. Like, there's no hurry. I have what I need. My needs are being met. Like maybe I'm not going on as many vacations as I wanted to go on this year, but I live here. I don't need to go on a vacation,
Mhm.
like so yeah, it's just like kind of finding that sweet spot. And I feel like I've gone a little too far over to just like I don't have some of the oomph. I'm not, yeah. So, but as I did more research, it makes complete sense. Like what I'm feeling is backed by research of too high progesterone.
Too high. Okay. So
Yeah,
is I mean, yeah, progesterone's like the zen hormone, right? So
it
if you're
is.
too zened out and
Yeah, it's like a
we don't
sedate. Like if you take too much, it's a sedative. It works on your GABA receptors just like antidepressants do.
interesting. So do you feel though that on like some level there's a mutedness or no?
I feel muted. I feel like there's kind of like a veil.
Ah, okay. So then what does that tapering down look like if that's where you're
So
going?
I got a prescription. I got my prescription changed. So I'll go back to 100 milligrams because I'm at 200.
Mhm.
I'll go back to 100 milligrams and I'll just kind of see how it goes.
Okay.
But I mean, yeah. The problem is that we have a shortage of progesterone right now in
Wait, what?
California. Yeah.
Why? Do we know?
I, I'm hoping it's because so many women are taking it and feeling better. I mean,
Oh my
I can
gosh.
imagine that must be it.
Yeah, interesting. I haven't heard that, so
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't speak
Just
to that.
research. Yeah, so luckily I
Fascinating.
still have my 200s I'm taking. I've heard people doing crazy things like freezing them and cutting them in half, but I'm like, I'll just wait until I get my 100s.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean it can even affect your vision, which I feel like I do. I feel like I have a little bit of a veil over my vision a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
which if I'm in deep ketosis, I notice that it goes away.
Mm,
Um,
fascinating.
yeah, so just kind of like a not really melancholy, but just yeah, just a little sedated, a little
Yeah.
like
Like
yeah,
indifferent, kind of,
yeah, some
maybe.
indifference, some like I'm yeah, not wanting to socialize, which for me is so different than I've always been. But then I also know like I am different.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's been a that's been a really big part of this transformation. And it's a big part that women and my clients, I help them move through is that it is a transformation and you're not going to go back to who you were.
Let's dive into that a little bit because I feel like that's also what happens in my office. You know, it's like the recognition that your body's changing and there are all these call them symptoms, but also just signs that yeah, your
Mhm.
body is going through a transformation and it's also natural, like
Mhm.
and for some it happens really quickly. Maybe some it's medically induced. Maybe it actually is a long 10-year experience. Like I know my
Mhm.
mom's she said that it took her 10 years like off and on altogether to then
Mhm.
finally not have a period anymore. And I found that really, really fascinating. But what I think a lot of people aren't so well versed in, you know, like maybe they already know things about the hormones and they know about like the sleep and they know about the like
Hot flashes, the
exactly.
generic symptoms, if you call them. Not that
Right.
they're less serious, but
Of course, of course. And yeah, like for me in my practice, it's like the vaginal dryness and maybe the leaking and pain with
Mhm.
sex and
Mhm.
pain in in the actual body doing what they normally would be able to do. And yet there's this emotional component and like the roller coaster just seems pretty it's like real, you know? Um, I'd love to hear you speak on that with like your own experience, maybe some client experiences. I mean, obviously, we are multifaceted
Mhm.
people. And if you're going through other major life transitions, like leaving a marriage or you're quitting your old job and you're finding a new passion, like you literally did like the
I did, yeah, I
the
did like,
180 times three. Like, I don't even know
yeah,
what to describe that.
it's kind of, I think back, I'm like, oh gosh. But I know I don't regret any of it
Yeah.
at all. But it's kind of cliche now that I really look at it. But it's
That's
like,
so good.
whatever.
Well, you didn't do Eat, Pray,
I,
Love, right? You didn't go to
right, I
Bali
did.
and
I had already been to Bali.
yeah,
Just
yeah,
kidding.
yeah, yeah. That's
But
so
no,
funny.
yeah, I mean, there are some moments that really stick out that led me to switch careers and start the coaching. And one of them being after my surgery, about a year after, my husband and my two kids and I, so they were 3 and 4, we left and we went traveling. So we went for a year-long radical sabbatical. And we went on this surf trip to go surf all over South America and Europe.
Wow.
And this time that was supposed to be this amazing year, which it was amazing in so many ways. I was struggling so hard. And you know, just being in these beautiful places, and there were just these realizations that were of the truth of these things in my marriage, and then my emotional state, and being in these beautiful places and being like calling my dad and being like, Dad, like I hate everybody and I just want to run away, and like I don't even want to be here. And this is after the brush incident. Um, and then coming back home and like assimilating to like, okay, we're being back home and now the kids are going to start school, and um I had my job, that I had taken a leave of absence, so that was fine. And, everything's fine. And just being so not feeling myself. And so I was crying to my husband and just being like, I feel so horrible. And I'm just explaining what I feel. And he's like, welcome to Earth, mere mortal. He's like, this is how the rest of us feel all the time. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, yeah, like you're the weirdo to be, because like I said, I was just Pollyanna, like whatever, like I was just like so, and he's like, welcome to Earth. Like this is what everybody feels all the time. And I'm going, this is horrible. I feel so bad for all of you that you've all had to live your life like this. Like, what is this? And then it was very soon after that that I realized that I had to grieve. What I needed to do was I needed to grieve. And that grief isn't just when someone dies, or grief is like I needed to grieve that I wasn't the same person I was before. And then I also read this book called From Strength to Strength. And it's a book all about that a lot of like CEOs will read, or really, really high performing people. It's written for high performing athletes and business owners and things that after they retire, a lot of people have a really hard time after they retire because of, they're high performers and they're used to all these things, and so they have to kind of grieve as they transition. But there's a lot of science that talks about how as we age, our brains change and they just don't function the way that they did before. But that's not a problem. It's a gift. It's a strength. And so your brain is switching from being this like hyper producer and like go, 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 go and multitask and produce and produce and produce to going more into like I forget the term that they use in the book, but it's like you're more of a facilitator and you're more of like looking at the big picture and you're a problem solver and you're wise and you have all of this knowledge to pull from. And that is a strength. And so reading that book helped me kind of grieve and accept that okay, I can't multitask like I used to. And I don't have all the energy that I used to have, but that's okay. I need to appreciate that part and transition and find the strengths, my new strengths that I'll have in this new phase. And that's just one thing to grieve, right? That to me, I call it my mental prowess. I felt that I had to grieve my mental prowess, but you're grieving your body. Some women are grieving the fact that they're never going to have children. That's a big one I hear,
Yeah.
right? Um, Grieving. I've worked with athletes that are, they're grieving that their body isn't functioning the same way that it did in their sports. Grieving their beauty, women who admit, and that their beauty has always been something that they've leaned into and used, and that's not the way it was before.
Hmm.
So there's a lot to grieve. And it's just such an important thing to acknowledge.
Yeah, huge, 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 huge. I mean, I think to get good at grieving is such a good skill to have. Like,
Hmm.
regardless of
If
whatever
you are.
life path you take, yeah, whoever you are, like, get good at feeling your feelings.
Hmm.
There are so many layers to the grief.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
reminds me. So my daughter got a hamster a couple of years ago. It's probably been 2 years ago now. And it didn't live very long and it died. And it was devastating to her. And I'm like, it's okay. Like we did a little ceremony, we buried it and all these things, right?
Mm.
And then I'm like, okay, well, let's get another hamster. And she's just horrified. She's like, why? So that I can get another one and it can just die on me again? And I was like, well, I mean, that's kind of why I got you the first hamster. And she was just like, what do you mean? Like, you knew that it was gonna die and that's why you got it for me? And I was like, well, honey, like it's a really important to learn how to love and lose. And she's like 9 at the time. I'm like, but this is a really good life lesson. Like, it's okay. Like, let's cry for banana but like but she still, it is. It's something that we have to learn to do, that we should learn a lot sooner, and we should understand what grief is. I think a lot of people just think it's when someone dies you grieve, but it's not. It's when any expectation doesn't come to fruition.
That, that right there. When expectation doesn't come to fruition. Yeah. Or yeah, it just didn't happen the way that you wanted it to happen.
Uh-huh.
And you probably didn't even know that until after the fact.
Uh-huh.
Like I talk about um how like I had to grieve all the times too that for example, I wasn't educated on the things that I wish I were educated on with regards
Mm-hmm.
to my body, even as a young girl, like with regards to periods
Mm-hmm.
and like all the like the whole gosh, in every single stage of a woman's life, even like if they do end up having kids, everyone's like, why didn't anyone tell me this? Why
It's a
didn't anyone
bloodbath.
why didn't anyone share this with me? Tell me this. And that is like the anger on top, maybe the rage, and then underneath it is the grief. Like
Mm-hmm.
feelings like it's okay to feel sorry for what you feel like you're losing and feel sorry for
100%.
yourself. But
Yeah.
the difference I feel like afterwards is you do feel this lightness and then you can alchemize that and move forward.
Mm-hmm.
But grief is also very tricky because when we do think about losing someone, grief comes up all the time. Like your feelings about missing that person come up all the time and you just have
Yeah.
no idea when that's going to pop up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, yeah, and I feel like the way we deal with grief is a good entry point into other patterns that we have in our unconscious that are creating blocks in our life,
Hmm.
you know?
Say
Because
say more.
just in the way that if we allow ourselves or don't allow ourselves to feel our grief, the the judgments that we have around our grief, um, so many people feel you can point out to them that what they're feeling is grief, and they don't feel that they deserve to grieve it. That
Hmm.
because deep down, a lot of times it's the pattern and that wound of not feeling that they deserve to want something or they deserve to have something. And so then when they grieve it, they're blocking, like, well, I can't be grieving this because I shouldn't want this in the first place.
Give me a hard example because I feel like what I was picturing was people who you can tell that they're grieving something and maybe they're sideline like, moving sideways away from that to feel that. And
Mm-hmm.
instead they're like immediately finding the gratitude. That's where my head went. So
Oh,
tell
finding the
me
gratitude instead. So the Pollyanna-ish
a little bit of the Pollyanna, a little bit of
Right.
the, yeah, like toxic positivity, like, oh, it's
Yeah.
actually all a good thing. And it's like, no, but I can tell you're sad,
Mm-hmm.
even if you're not
Mm-hmm.
saying it, I can feel it. But I want to know more about what you're alluding to.
It can be something just as like, you're grieving the expectation of having a job,
Okay. Yeah.
right? And so they're grieving, well, what is it about the job? It's the safety,
Mm.
right? And then so you're just like, okay, well, you're grieving the job, but you're grieving the safety that that job was going to provide you,
Mm.
right? And so then they feel like, oh, well, I didn't, I shouldn't have, you know, I didn't deserve to get that job anyway. So why should
Mm.
I be so upset?
But why wouldn't they have?
Or
I'm like
or
curious about this
or
person.
just like, oh, well, it's just a job, like, but
Mm.
but it's your safety that's being.
Right. Right.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Is that what you're seeing in a lot of your clients who are typically you work with women only, right?
Yeah,
Okay, that's fine.
yeah. I mean, basically everything comes down to feeling safe, right? Safe, loved, belonging.
Mm-hmm.
So everything ends up, you dig and you dig and you get to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you feel like for a lot of these women that you work with, you end up doing a lot of um acknowledging of even maybe what their periods are like and their upbringing? Are they doing inner child work,
Yeah,
shadow
so
work,
a lot
breath
of it
work?
is somatic. So it's kind of like parts work.
Yep.
It's not really called that. It kind of it's a lot of the it's like the acknowledgement, the awareness, the acknowledgement, and then moving once you acknowledge it and you're aware of it, then you move it into aligned action. So what are we going to do about it? But in the acknowledgement phase is where the somatics come in. And
Mm,
then when, we locate the emotion in the body, and then we move through like the history that that emotion has in our body, the
mm,
experiences that are related to those emotions in our body, which takes us back to the inner child work.
mm,
And then from there, we go into the forgiveness and the acceptance, right? And it's like,
yeah.
okay, so now that we've created the safety and the forgiveness and the acceptance, now how do you move from there?
Yeah. What's the typical answer? Like what are the women who work with you, like what do they end up feeling like once they've done this acknowledgement and um they've worked through their grief and some of these maybe like deeper layers and parts. Like I want you to paint me a picture essentially of like what an embodied maybe post-menopausal woman or perimenopausal woman looks like. Like how does she feel? Because I mean, who knows? I'm curious even
Yeah,
for
I
my own
mean, it's
future.
it's
Every woman who's, listening to this, I feel like my audience is anywhere between 25 to 45, maybe a little younger sometimes and maybe a little older sometimes, right?
Mhm, mhm.
But every woman's going to walk through this stage eventually.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like just the stage itself is just really lends you to it's like a reckoning
Yeah.
of everything that we've spent so many years dismissing and pushing down. All of the emotional cycles that we've gone through that we were told are just part of, you're just PMSing. And so we learn to push it down and dismiss those things, they come up. And so all of those emotions that come up month after month, right? They all come back to those basic safety and belonging.
Hmm.
Um, and they just show up in different ways and make these patterns that we bring through to our adult life. And then when you get to this stage, it's a reckoning of all of that you can't turn away from. So it's either like you either deal with it or you're going to suffer. You're going to have way more symptoms. You're going to just keep suffering. So
Mm,
when you sit and you are aware of what those um, patterns are, and then you acknowledge them and forgive yourself for them, then you can move forward in a mazillion different ways, right? Like whether it's, realizing like that's why so many women are leaving their marriages.
That's why, yeah, it's in TCM called a second spring, and all of a sudden these women are exploring their sexuality in a completely different
Yeah,
way than they ever have.
right.
Fun.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
over. It's not
It's
over when you're done bleeding, guys.
it's not. It's definitely not. Yeah, so it's like, for example, this is just a silly thing. I was talking to a client and she was telling me how her husband, or for some reason, she had remembered something that her husband had done years ago. And it just like popped up into her mind one day, and they got into a really big fight because she, at the time that it happened, had completely dismissed it and pushed it down because that's what we're taught to do. But then she remembered it like 15 years later and decided that she wanted to fight about it. That she had to share, you know what? That when you did that thing 15 years ago, like, and she's like, and I was mad all day, Joanna.
That's hilarious. Wait, I want to know what happened. Did she tell you exactly how was the husband just like dumbfounded? Like
Oh yeah,
didn't remember?
dumbfounded. Yeah. No, he remembered.
Okay.
But it's things like that, right? It's like you're like,
Yeah.
wait a second, why didn't I speak up for myself? Like that was a big deal. It was a big deal, and I let it slide. And you know what? I'm going to tell you.
I think that maybe my takeaway from that is okay, it's not too late. It's never too late to speak up, speak your truth,
Never. Yeah.
share what was on your heart. And like,
Mm-hmm.
because it, in the end, I think I love this. I love this example. It's like she just wants to be not just safe, not just belonging, but she like really wanted to be seen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Taking a quick break from my conversation with Joanna to ask you something. Whether you're in your second spring of menopause, newly postpartum, healing pelvic pain, deep in a relationship, dating again, or about to get married, are you pleasure independent? And what does that even mean? Pleasure independence means you are no longer waiting for someone else to unlock your body, your desire, your confidence, or your turn on. It means you know how to listen from within. You know how to advocate for what you need. You know how to honor your yes, your no, your desire, your boundaries, and your changing body. Because pleasure isn't just about sex, it's about feeling at home in your body. It's about reconnecting with your pelvic floor, your pussy, your sensuality, and your own inner authority, and having that all feel really good. So if you've been feeling disconnected, numb, unsure about what you want, or like your body is asking you to pay attention in a new way, I'm inviting you to my free live class, Pleasure Independence, happening Wednesday, July 8th at 5:30 p.m. PST. And yes, there will be a replay. We're going to talk about what it actually means to become pleasure independent and how to start building that relationship from your body from the inside out. It's free and you can sign up through the link in the show notes. Okay, let's get back to my conversation with Joanna. I love what you had said, calling this phase a reckoning. And it is,
Yeah.
you're right. Like, I think leading up, this is why, I hope maybe it's genetics, maybe it's also just hopefully the practices that I've personally put into play. This is my prayer, my hope, right? Every single
Mm-hmm.
month, I am acknowledging what needs to fall away and what I
Mm-hmm.
need to cultivate more of in my life. It feels like a brand new opportunity each and every month when I think about it on that like blood rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
But then also say you're not bleeding, right? Like, I'm curious if you're still using the moon, number one, but
I am.
cool. Cool. Yeah. I want more women to know that that is an option for them. And like, what does that even tangibly like look like? Because I'm doing a challenge right now. I'm hosting the 75 Her Challenge, which is a cycle syncing challenge this summer. And there are women who are a little irregular and regular, some that are postpartum, like under a year postpartum, and maybe they're bleeding, maybe they're still trying to figure that out while breastfeeding. And then I also have my mom in there,
Mm-hmm.
and she's using it more from like a wellness standpoint. Like she wants to get her steps in and kind of keep tabs on how much she's exercising because now she's retired and needs something to do with her time, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's pretty active. But I was encouraging her, like, hey, curious if you'd be able or would want to use the moon, even in some of your other like creative endeavors. who knows, right?
Mhm.
She's not there yet, but I just love that as an option to continue that cycle of having these like mini reclamations and mini reckonings. So
Mhm.
maybe that perimenopause doesn't have to be that major of an undoing or like a,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I don't think we definitely don't all have to come undone the way that I did. 100%. If and this is what I'm just learning more of as I'm working on my health and as I've been speaking to so many women, is that all of these symptoms that we're having are not normal. They might be common, but it's not normal to come undone. And several years ago, I went to Colombia for a retreat, and I sat with some of the indigenous women in this tribe. And I was so excited to spend the week with them, with the medicine men and the leaders and blah blah blah. And so I went to one of they're called mamos. So I went to the mamo man and I said, I told him what I was doing. And I'm like, so what do you do for your women that are going through perimenopause? And he's like, we don't have that. And
Mhm.
I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, they don't have those problems. And I was like, ah, you're just a man. Let me go talk to the ladies, right? So I went and I talked to the ladies and I'm like, so what do you do? What? And they're like, they don't have hot flashes and night sweats and rage and they don't have that.
Wow.
My mom, she didn't have any big symptoms. So it's interesting because you're hearing the dialogue of kind of like some anger in women going through perimenopause right now of like, why didn't they warn us? Why didn't our mothers share this wisdom? Is it because it's taboo and because, women are the seen as second class citizens and no, ladies, that's not it. It's because some women, yes, but all of these symptoms that we're facing are not normal.
Mhm.
And I know exactly why. It's because our modern lifestyle is completely pulled us away from nature. Why am I wearing these stupid glasses? Because I'm protecting my eyes from blue light. Like blue light is killing us. And I know that sounds dramatic, but just wait, give me 10 more years and same thing with all the other shit I've been telling people for the last 20 years. But like I'm telling you, it's they sleep on the ground. So they're grounded. They
Mm.
don't have all of this non-native EMFs everywhere. They're drinking water that is pure and mineralized and electrified and you know, they're living with nature. They're eating food that grows 100 yards from where they live.
Mm.
And so they're healthy. When you're healthy, you don't have these symptoms, which again is why 200 milligrams of progesterone is now too much for me because I
You
fixed
don't
my
need it.
metabolism, I fixed my circadian rhythms, and now my body is functioning so much better that 200 milligrams is too much. Before, it was fine, but now it's too much because I'm much healthier.
What would you say to kind of wrap this beautiful conversation? That is like such a perfect story. Like I love this story so much that you
The
went.
one about the mammals.
Yes.
I know.
Yes.
I have
Because
so
people don't
I
realize that this is so normalized here in North America
yeah.
and even, I don't know, probably
Well,
some other
everywhere. I've
places.
been talking a little bit about it too, because it's like I don't want to be mean or rude because women are experiencing hormonal issues,
For
right? But it's
sure.
like we can't just go and you have a 35-year-old woman and she's having all of these symptoms, and it's like, oh, hooray! Like, congratulations, you're in perimenopause. We found the answer. We figured it out. You're in perimenopause. And then she can like be like, okay, like, I mean, I get it. You want to know what's going on, but that's not okay to be like, you're going to be in perimenopause and have these horrible symptoms for 10 years. That's not normal.
Mm-hmm.
Let's
Mm-hmm.
put a band-aid on it. Let's get you and put you on hormones. It's like, no, at 35, 38, even 40 years old, if you're living in alignment with nature and you're healthy and you don't have insulin resistance, you have a healthy metabolism, you will not have these symptoms. So why aren't we going and fixing the root of the problem? The root of the problem isn't a lack of hormones. The root of the problem is that you have all of these other things that are getting in the way of your hormones.
Right, right. I,
And
I
so
couldn't agree more.
I feel upset that it's like, oh yeah, I'm 38 and I'm in perimenopause. It's like, honey, no, you're not. You have a broken body and you need to learn to take care of yourself, not just put a band-aid on it.
Yeah, I think getting to the root of what's actually happening is exactly what people need to refocus on.
Mm-hmm.
And not taking those, yeah, those symptoms as um like surface level. And they've
Right.
probably been building for so long
Yes.
because if you've been living that particular lifestyle for, let's just even say for a decade, but
Yeah.
probably longer, if
Yeah.
you're experiencing perimenopausal symptoms at 38 years old, for example, I'm curious, like, what would be some easy, I don't even want to call it like, it's not a hack. It's not a
It's
biohack.
not a hack.
I hate that languaging
But
because we're also not trying to like hyper optimize.
no,
What
no.
we're
I
trying to
don't
do is return to nature, like you
return to,
said.
yes. Like my daughter asked me, I did a post about this. My daughter asked me, like, Mom, are you a biohacker?
Yeah.
And I'm like, actually, no, I'm not. I'm not a biohacker.
Yeah,
I'm
that's not
just
how we're doing
living
it.
in tune with nature.
Yes.
Right? It's not about more. Or people will be like, so what's your supplement stack? And
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't take, I take magnesium. I don't trust all of the supplements. I'm like, if you like stop your, like I tell my clients, stop your supplements. We're going to go back to the basics. You're taking so many supplements, you don't even know what's working and you're taxing the shit out of your liver. Stop
Mhm.
them all and let's just get good water. Let's get you some good sleep. Let's protect you from blue light. Let's get in the sun 10 minutes, 3 times a day. And we have to start there because there's so much noise that's interfering with your hormones. And it's not just your sex hormones. We're talking your main hormones, which are your cortisol, your leptin, and your melatonin.
Mhm.
Those are like your three base hormones, and all of your sex hormones and everything are downstream from that. If those three are out of whack, everything else is going to be out of whack.
Right, right.
And leptin, no one talks about leptin. I'm teaching my doctor about leptin.
I'm okay. I feel like we need a part two already
I
because
know, I'm
I want to
sorry.
know more about leptin. No, no, you're totally okay. I am about to get my mid-year blood test just to
Mm-hmm.
see if anything has shifted and changed through function. And I'm not on a supplement stack by any means. I'm deficient in, say, for example, I'm deficient in vitamin D. I know that off the top of my head. But I've been out and about a lot more, just even in the past month, doing
Uh-huh.
my own challenge. And obviously it's summer. And so,
Mm-hmm.
eventually the June gloom does burn off and we get
Yeah.
some sun. But yeah, I like want to know, I want to know more as you go through your journey, taking your progesterone back down.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to share more about my journey when I know a little bit more, but I definitely feel like I need to learn up on leptin.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's two things that I think really, well, I guess there's three things. So my lifestyle is completely different.
Yeah.
I'm not stressed out anymore. We were nesting with the kids. So I was like living with roommates 50% of the time and then living in the family home with the kids 50% of the time and like moving back and forth every week. So, and teaching full time and blah, blah, right? So my lifestyle's changed so much. But then I also am I spent a whole year just dedicating myself to wearing my glasses.
Mm.
Putting my ego aside, wearing them when I go to the grocery store, putting my ego aside, wearing them when I go out dancing with my girlfriends, putting my ego, like just being like, okay, this is what I do. I wear my glasses. I go outside every morning. I lay out every day. Like a year, I'm like one thing at a time. And then I spent a year fixing my metabolism.
Mm.
So I learned how to switch in and out of ketosis. So during
Mm.
the week, I'm in ketosis, and on the weekends, I feast and eat whatever I want, which is still healthy, but I eat, a lot more carbohydrates. Um, and I lost 20 pounds. And that even, and the only reason I did that was to fix my leptin.
Mm.
And so, I mean, having a metabolism that's working properly and not having constant blood sugar spikes fixes so many things besides your leptin. I mean, it fixes anxiety, it helps with ADHD. If there's an amazing book called Change Your Diet, Change Your Mind, that's all
Mm.
about how being in ketosis helps people with all kinds of mental health issues, from schizophrenia to depression and bipolarism. Like, it's
I've heard that
real.
too. Even with like, I have a friend who has um HEDS, so Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Being
Hmm.
in ketosis really helps her too, not
Hmm.
feel so achy
Yeah.
in her body.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fascinating topic. I mean, obviously, that is another podcast in and of itself.
It is.
Talking about ketosis and metabolism, like you're saying.
So doing those things, the lack of stress, the light environment, the metabolism,
Yeah,
my body's a completely body for 200 milligrams of progesterone,
yeah,
right? So it's
yeah,
like those messages can, because hormones are messengers. What does that really mean? It's like, oh, they're messengers, but one messenger can block the other messenger. So when you have high cortisol, your progesterone is being blocked by the cortisol and it can't get into the cell. The lock and the key don't fit.
right.
So all of these people that are having all of these symptoms, right? We need to pay attention to those symptoms, but it's like, what is blocking the messages? Inflammation blocks all the messages. Cortisol, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Those are the root causes.
Yeah. And I mean, at least for me, like cortisol, I have to remind myself that it's not always bad. Like we need
Right? It's
cortisol,
not.
right? To
We
get
need
up
it.
and out of bed, but too much. It's like too much of anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate that message, for lack of a better word. Thank you, hormones, and thank you,
Yeah.
Joanna, for your message.
I know.
No, it's so
There's
important.
just so much to say.
There's literally so much to say. And I know like you and I, we could go on a walk and talk for probably hours and hours and hours. Which I feel like is the thread with all of the people who come on this podcast.
Right.
So, okay, just to wrap this one up, if someone wanted to learn more about how to work with you, um, maybe to address this inner child stuff, but also maybe if you're helping women work on their metabolism and getting to the root, like adding
Mm-hmm.
these changes to their lives, which are potentially super, super quote unquote modern, and they want to return back to nature in some way that makes sense for them, how would you want them to reach out to you, essentially?
So you can go, I think my Instagram's probably the easiest, or my
Okay.
website. So it's navigate.menopause is my Instagram. And then navigatemenopause.com is my website.
Okay.
Um, but so I've created my life so I don't really work in the summers, so I can be with my kids.
Because you're an
But in the
elementary school teacher
fall,
at heart and you're used to
yes,
that schedule.
right. And I want to be with my kids. So I take clients in the fall, and then I take the holidays off, and then I take clients again in the spring. I do like
Mm,
6 to 12 session one-on-one packages. And then I
gotcha.
also will be running in the fall again. I'll be running, I call it Metabolic Freedom.
Cool.
That's the name of my course. That's a group course for learning metabolic flexibility, metabolic freedom. And then I'm going to be starting a series at Foreman Spa that's more of a weekly standing support group style group. Um, so I'm waiting to see for scheduling start either like end of July, August
Okay,
to start
amazing.
that.
And that's like a perimenopausal support group or
Yeah.
okay, okay. Very,
Mm-hmm.
very cool.
Yeah.
That sounds like a red tent moment.
Yeah. So um, I've done some events there before,
Mhm.
but it's like they've been more kind of educational, really sharing about quantum biology and the role that that plays in our hormone health. And um, so I want something that's just a little bit more like you drop in any day. It's not so much education as much as it's support group. We'll have some themes, some prompts kind of thing, but just something that's like, every Wednesday you can pop in and
I love that. That sounds very lovely. And like perfect for your expertise and your like style, like teaching style even, the
yeah.
facilitation, like going through I'm thinking about your book again.
Hmm.
That you mentioned, the strength to what is it called? Strength to
Strength to
strength.
strength.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool, cool.
Yeah. This whole journey's been, for me, it's been kind of, there's so many things I have learned and I want to learn, and so much information I want to share that it's like I'm trying to figure out all of the different avenues,
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's so much and I get so excited about it.
This is where that hunger is coming online.
Yeah, right.
I love
Yeah.
it.
And there's
I
still so
love
much I
it.
want to do. Like I've just been learning about all of like, I've been pulling people's DNA panels and it's like, let's look at your DNA and see how that's affecting how your hormones, if you're going to take
Wow.
HRT, how that's going to affect your HRT, if, how, when you want to do your hormone replacement therapy, or this contributes to how you're experiencing perimenopause because you have the MOA gene and this, I mean, it's fascinating.
I love that you love it. And that passion is totally felt. And I'm just so grateful for you because you are a complete wealth of knowledge. Um, and you have such amazing like life experience to speak to. And yeah, I'm just so grateful
Thanks for
to know
having me.
you and have you.
Yeah, and we gotta talk. We gotta get together and figure out what event we can do together.
Oh, 100%.
I have plenty of ideas.
Get on both of our newsletters if you're curious about a mother-daughter experience coming up.
Yeah, good.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next
Thank
time.
you.
Thanks for listening and for placing your finger on the pelvic pulse. I'm Brittany Ellers. The music for this podcast was created by Just Tech, and I'm grateful you're here breathing this conversation in with me. You're invited to stay connected by following the show on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen, and by sharing it with someone you love. Beyond the podcast, there are 2 free spaces waiting for you: the Arousal Anatomy Adventure and my private podcast, The Pool of Presence, both designed to support you in coming back into your body and listening to what's real right now. You'll find everything linked in the show notes. Let your curiosity lead you and enter wherever you feel drawn. It's an honor to walk alongside you.